The world has gone 3D printing mad, and seemingly there is literally nothing that can't be made using additive manufacture. Here's some of our favourite 3D printed cycling tech and what we can expect in the future. One of the first areas that 3D printing made itself known to the cycling industry was with saddles, and there's now a huge array to choose from. Specialized were one of the first on the scene, calling their intricate elastomeric lattice structure Mirror. The concept of using 3D printing for saddles is largely similar across brands, with San Marco, Physique, Italia and Specialized, to name just a few, featuring such saddles in their lineup. These brands claim that they're able to print saddle padding that is comfortable, supportive and incredibly resilient, which overcomes the shortfalls of traditional foam. I've been using a 3D printed saddle for some time now, and I'm suitably impressed with their durability, and the benefits of being able to tailor the density of certain sections of the saddle is undeniable. However, the downside is nearly always the price. 3D printing is best suited for small volume production, so we tend to see 3D printed saddles towards the top of the price range. Currently on test, I have the Bjorn Setka, reportedly the lightest saddle with a 3D printed pad. You'll be able to check out my full review over on the road.cc website very soon. And following closely behind that will be the Persedla Joy Seat, a 3D printed saddle that has been tailored to my exact arse shape. Is this the future of saddles? We'll find out. Moving to the front of the bike, and we've seen plenty of 3D printed bars and stems both in the World Tour and on the track. It could be argued that 3D printing has had a rocky start moving into this area, after the Australian pursuit team quite literally came crashing down in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. The 3D printed titanium base bar by Bastion Cycles failed during the start of the event, with a report stating that it was caused by inadequate design specifications supplied to the manufacturer and a failure to conduct adequate fatigue testing in the lead up to use in competition. Since then, 3D printed bars and stems have seen far more success. Many of the pros can be seen riding custom TT extensions in time trials, and last year we even got our hands on our very own 3D printed stem. This Mythos LX stem claims to be the world's first commercially available stem, and a look into what's possible in the future. At £500, it doesn't make a whole lot of commercial sense right now, but even so we found it performed well, albeit no better than a good conventionally manufactured stem. Whereas many 3D printed cycling components are made of titanium, the LX stem is made of material called scalmalloy, an alloy made of aluminium, magnesium and scandium. The first aluminium-scandium alloys were in fact developed by the Russians during the Cold War for use in their MiG aircraft. There was also a bit of a vogue for it amongst bike builders in the early 2000s. Scalmalloy was developed by Airbus and contained zirconium and manganese, as well as aluminium, magnesium and scandium. It's widely considered the strongest aluminium alloy that's suitable for additive manufacture. Quite a good thing to make a stem out of then. Now, most of us couldn't even justify a stem made out of scalmalloy, but what if you were after an entire bike? Well, that's exactly what Filippo Ganna got. This Pinarello Belide F HR 3D claims to be the world's first and fastest high-performance 3D printed bike ever built. It's hard to argue with that, with such a commanding hour world record set by Ganna on this very bike. The concept behind the F HR 3D is to blend strength and stiffness with aero gains, relying on a production method that would allow for millimetre perfect sizing. From the seat tube that imitates a humpback whale, to the 3D printed titanium one-piece bar and stem, this really is a special bike that will surely go down in history. When asked about the bike, Pinarello said, "3D printing allowed us to introduce new shapes and features that are impossible to replicate with existing carbon fibre techniques. With this new method, we have created a unique aerodynamic shape and reached an incredible level of stiffness." Moreover, 3D printing made it possible to add internal reinforcement, create a totally new shape of head tube, and importantly, it also drastically cut development time because we were no longer held back by the traditional time constraints of mould production for a carbon fibre frame. It appears then that it's use cases like these that 3D printing really shines. Bikes like that really are lovely to look at, but even with a briefcase full of money, you still couldn't get your hands on one. So when are we likely to see 3D printed bikes available to buy? Well, the truth is that the transition is already happening right in front of our very eyes. Moots, for example, the American titanium specialists, are already using 3D printed dropouts on selected frames. I recently got the chance to see these printed lugs before they made their way into a frame, and the obvious question was, but why? Moots explained that weight saving and controlled stiffness were definitely factors, but also raising the interesting point of wastage. The size of a piece of 6x4 billet to make a part of similar dimensions to the printed part would weigh about 2.4 pounds per side of the bike. Not to mention the hours, the machine time, and the limitations in design features. This creates about 85% waste. The way a 3D printer works is to put down a very thin layer, around 60 microns thick in this case, in an argon-filled chamber, and then laser fuses the material along with a precise computer-controlled path. And the waste of all of this is less than 10%. That's quite a significant saving, especially when dealing with a material that's quite as expensive as titanium. A little further digging into those Moots frames would indicate that their partners, Murata Pro, went one step further before going bust in 2017. How about this for a mental looking frame? Or how about this Superstrata bike and e-bike? This is 3D printed from a continuous carbon fibre and is available to purchase now, apparently, from their Kickstarter page. You might want to read the comments first. Admittedly, some of them do need a little more work before they're rideable. How about this one? Additive manufacturing often seems to take this unique, almost organic style, where the standard rulebook and limitations of conventional manufacturing techniques are chucked well and truly out the window. Just take these Sram cranks as an example. They certainly split opinion when we wrote about them in 2021. Whether you like them or not, these prototype cranks are said to be twice as strong as ones developed and manufactured using traditional techniques and 20% lighter. However, as we haven't seen them used even on a pro's bike yet, we're assuming that they're either wildly expensive or Sram has ran into some sort of other problem with them. Sram has used a program called Fusion 360 to develop these cranks. It's software that I used during my engineering degree at university, so I thought I'd have my very own go at creating a set of cranks. What do you think? Would you ride them? Let us know in the comment section below. If you're looking for 3D printed tech that you can actually buy, then really there's only one place to look, and that is Silca. Silca has spent the last few years 3D printing just about everything, from out-in-front computer mounts to tools and pressure gauges. I'm sure Mr. Portner has plenty more ideas up his sleeve of what to 3D print next. Now obviously a 3D printed hammer is pretty out there, but how about these? Oh yes, even your vitamins can now be 3D printed. Nourished is a company that creates 3D printed gummies which are customized to your individual health requirements. We've already seen loads of examples of how additive manufacture has been used to create personalized parts and components, but Nourished believe that if anything in the world should be personalized, it should be our health and wellness. Speaking of personalized, Canyon seems to be gearing up to release some custom tech of its own with its recent partnership with the Magic 5. They're the world's first company to offer custom fit swimming goggles using smartphone facial scanning technology. The only issue is we have absolutely no idea what components it might be. Let us know your best guess down in the comment section below. The press release simply stated that the aim of the new partnership between the Magic 5 and Canyon is to find the next level of technology-based custom fit products by expanding the application of their, i.e. Magic 5's, proprietary fitting technology. That doesn't give a lot away. Could it be saddles? You're going to have to remember to delete the pictures of your ass off your phone if it is. Or maybe hoods or aero bars. Either way, we're excited to see what the future holds. Of course, there's plenty of applications of 3D printing that we now take for granted, despite it being technology that is only in its infancy. Remember a few years ago when getting a GoPro and light mounts was a right pain in the arse? Well, that problem has been all but fixed by companies such as Raceware, who now make just about every mount that you can possibly imagine. It doesn't matter that you're one of only about 3 people on planet Earth riding a Trek Madone with a Data stem and want to run a Brighton cycle computer with a Varia lighting camera, because, well, 3D printing is just as cheap to produce 3 as it is 3 million. The fact you don't need to make injection molds means you can just run off a few. That's great whether you're rapid prototyping a new design or making something for an extremely limited market. For example, I even 3D printed my own headset cap. Not because I needed to, just because I thought it might look a little bit better than the original. It hasn't broken yet, still. So where are we heading next? Well, one thing that is for sure is that 3D printing is likely only going to get more and more prominent in the world of cycling. In fact, Pinarello said the next step in its development will be to make it more affordable by finding ways to scan riders with more affordable equipment and automatically design each unique bike, from a world champion to every world tour rider, and then eventually to each and every one of us, I guess. I think we're last on the list. Which component would you most like to get 3D printed? Let us know in the comments section below, but if it's your favourite route, a helmet or a model of Tom Dumoulin, then I'm afraid it's already been done. If you found this video interesting, then please give us a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We'll see you next time.